Abstraction is a fundamental concept in object-oriented programming. Abstraction involves creating abstract representations of real-world objects, emphasizing the essential features while hiding the non-essential details. In C#, abstraction is achieved through the use of abstract classes, interfaces, and abstract members, which we are going to see in this video. So firstly, I'm going to start with abstract classes. Abstract classes are classes that cannot be instantiated on their own, and they can implement abstract methods or even concrete methods, or basically normal methods that have a body in them. Let us just start creating an abstract class. So firstly, we need to write the abstract keyword, then we write class, and we give a name to this class, like employee. Let me just open up the curly braces. And here in the body, an abstract class can have fields. Let me just take an example, string name. It can also have properties like public string. Let's make the last name a property. Just write here the get and set keyword. And yeah, it's important to note that in the abstract classes, as I said before, we can have abstract methods, which are methods where they are implemented on the class that inherits this abstract class, but we also can have normal methods or concrete methods. Let me just write an abstract class in the beginning. Let's just say public abstract void, and then I'm gonna write the name of the method, like job title. I'm gonna write the parentheses, and then I'm not gonna write the body to this method. Just note that here I have written, before we write the return type for the method, I have written this abstract keyword. And down below, then just write a concrete method or like a normal method, like public void, which is the return type. And then I'm naming it introduce. And inside the curly braces, I'm just gonna print a line in the console.writeLine, like I am an employee. So, and yes, that was it. So as we can see here, we have the right to use access modifiers in the members of our abstract class. If we wanted to, we could make like the name as private, protect it, or whatever we wanted to do here. As we have seen also in the previous videos how the access modifiers work. But for now, we are going to see how we can inherit an abstract class in another class. So let me just write a programmer class, and I'm going to inherit with the colon symbol the employee class. And here, this class needs to implement the abstract method if we want to use it. So I'm just going to need to write public override. I'm going to need to write the override keyword so that we can implement our job title method. Void is the return type, and then job title. And let me just write another line here. So like console.writeLine. And I'm gonna want to print out to the console the line, I am a programmer, let's say. So this programmer class inherits the name, the last name property, the name field. This job title method is implemented here, and it also inherits the introduce method, which we do not need to implement down below. Let me just go back to the program. Go here down below to the program class, to this main method. I'm just going to need to create a programmer object. I'm naming it programmer, new programmer. I'm gonna see that we can use with this programmer object both of the methods, so the job title method and the introduce method. And let me just run the program. And we can see firstly I am a programmer and then I am an employee. So now let's just see how interfaces work. Let me just create an interface firstly. By creating an interface, I'm just going to need to write the interface keyword. And then usually we can give a name to the interface, and it usually begins with an I. Let me just give it a name of employer, let's say. Open up the curly braces. So an interface is a completely abstract type, and we can only write method signatures in an interface. We cannot implement them. Here we cannot have also fields, but we can have only properties and methods. If I would want to create a field, like a string name, it would give me an error because interfaces cannot contain fields, and we also cannot use the access modifiers that we could use in the abstract method above. So we cannot write, every member of the interface is by default public, and we cannot make it, let's say, private, protected, or we cannot put any other access modifier there. So let me just make it a property, not a field. We'll see that we won't get an error anymore. And we don't need this semicolon at the end. And we can write, as I said before, we cannot implement methods here, but we can only write method signatures. A method signature is written only by writing the return type, let's say void. And then let's write introduce here, the name of the method, the parentheses, and that's it. We're gonna need to implement this method in the class that inherits the interface. If I would want to make it private, let's say, the method, it would give us an error because, as I said, every member of an interface is by default public. So let me just remove this here. And for us to implement, to inherit this interface, let me just create another class, let's say manager, to inherit the interface, I employer, and here I'm going to need to write again the property. So I'm just going to make it public here, since we are in a class, not an interface. I'm going to make the property to be visible, and I'm going to also implement the method. I'm making it public, introduce, and here we're going to define a body for this introduce method. So I'm just printing out to the console with console.writeLine method. I am an employer. If I'm going down to the program class, to the main method, let me just create an object for the manager, like manager, naming it manager, equals to new manager. Here I'm calling the introduce method. If I run the program, let me just see what error I did. Okay, this should be a semicolon. We should see at the end, I am an employer. And we saw the differences that there are between an interface and an abstract class, but another difference is that a class can inherit only one abstract class, so it's not possible to inherit more than one, but the class can inherit multiple interfaces. Let's say if we had another interface here, I'm just going to create one just as an example. I'm going to give it another name, second interface. I don't know, some name there. I'm going to delete this. Here in the manager class, we saw that it inherited the employer interface, but by writing like a comma, and then the name of the second interface, this class now has the possibility to inherit more than one interface, and that's also one of the difference between the interface and an abstract class. So this brings us to the end of our video. Just leave a comment down below in case you have any question, and don't forget to like the video or subscribe to the channel if you like this content. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.